Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson where I'm going to talk about the Olympics. It might be a little challenging to stay focused this morning because this lesson is being delivered to you at the same time as the opening ceremonies. I was just watching a little bit of the opening ceremonies and it was super exciting to see all of the different countries. But I thought this would be a perfect time to do an English lesson about the Olympics. I'm certainly not going to talk about every single type of event at the Olympics, but I will certainly help you learn some English words and phrases that you can use when you have little conversations over the next few weeks about the Olympic Games. Certainly an exciting time when the world gets together to compete with each other in a very friendly and sportsmanlike way. So the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games happen every 4 years. It's a very exciting time because it's one of the few times when the entire world gets together in one place or sends representatives. I mean, the whole world can't be in Tokyo right now, but we send our best athletes to compete with each other in various sports. And it's super fun. It's one of the few things that we do as a world. I know we have a World's Fair and there are a few other things, but it's exciting when we get together for the Olympics. Again, it does happen every 4 years. This year, the Olympics have been delayed by a year because of COVID, but I think, are still calling these the 2020 Olympic Games. They are the Summer Olympics. I'll talk about Summer and Winter Olympics in a moment. They are the Summer Olympics. We sometimes just call them the Olympics. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Are you going to watch the Olympics? Oh, the Olympics are going to be on TV every day this week. So we don't always say the Olympic Games. That sounds very, very formal. And then one last thing, over 200 countries come and participate. It's a very cool thing. I think the Winter Olympics, it's a little bit about over 100. You have to kind of have winter in your country if you want to get good at winter sports. But let's talk about the Summer Olympics. The Summer Olympics usually happen in a city that has beautiful weather during the summer, and it usually takes place in the summer because many of the events take place outside. A lot of them are inside, but some are outside. If you look to the right, I think it's my right. I'm not sure if it's your right. You'll see that there's weightlifting, there's cycling, there's pole vaulting, there's archery, and I think the last one is volleyball. I was trying to figure it out. So sports that can be done inside and some sports that are done outside. It's very cool to watch some of these sports. I think there are 339. I might have the number wrong. That might have been at Rio the last time, but there are over 300 events at the Olympics. So everything that you do at the Olympics is called an event. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. The Winter Olympics. At the Winter Olympics, you have ice hockey, which Canada likes to win. Usually we try to win. Sometimes the Russians beat us. Sometimes the Americans beat us, but usually we do pretty good. You have snowboarding. You have downhill skiing or cross-country skiing. Cross-country skiing is when you go forward under your own power, and downhill skiing, of course, you go down the hill. And then we also have figure skating. And I think there's over 100 events at the Winter Olympics. There is something called the host country. So every time the Olympics are held, a country has been awarded the ability to host the Olympics. I'm not sure exactly how to explain that, but that's planned far in advance. Currently, the host country is Japan. Hi to everyone in Japan. I want to say thank you from Canada, and I think I can say thank you on behalf of the whole world. Thank you for hosting the Olympics, especially this year. It's an especially difficult year to host the Olympics. You're wondering how English speakers use the word especially? That's a great example. It's an especially difficult year for hosting the Olympics because of COVID. So thank you, Japan. I think you have everything well in hand. So hopefully we have a good Olympic Games. Thank you for being the host country. I think the last host country was Brazil. So hi to everyone in Brazil. The last Summer Olympics, I believe, was in Rio de Janeiro. So thank you, everyone. And I think the next Olympics is going to be in France. I think the next Olympic Games will be in Paris, France. So thank you, Paris, for hosting that in 4 years. Or it might be 3 years if we stay on track. We also have what's called the host city. So the host city is the main city that hosts the Olympic Games. Not all of the events happen in the same city. Sometimes there are other cities that have large stadiums or arenas that are used as well. And sometimes you have to actually drive to get to the different events if you are an athlete. You don't always just live in the Olympic Village and walk over to the stadium and do your event. Oftentimes, especially in the Winter Olympics, your events might be held in the mountains. If you are in the Summer Olympics, your event might be held at a local soccer stadium if you're playing soccer or something like that. But thank you to the city of Tokyo. If there's anyone in the chat from Tokyo, hi to all of you. And thank you very much for hosting the Olympic Games this year. Very cool that your city was chosen to do that. And then we have what's called the Olympic Stadium. The Olympic Stadium is the main stadium, the main large building where the Olympics occur. Now, again, not all of the events happen in the Olympic Stadium, but generally there is one stadium, sometimes two, but there's one stadium where the opening ceremonies happen, the closing ceremonies happen. The majority of sometimes the track and field events might happen at the main stadium. And I think this year it's the Tokyo National Stadium. I can't remember the exact name. Though the Japan National Stadium. Sorry, I do have notes over there pinned on the window. The Japan National Stadium. So very cool stadium. Sometimes the Olympic Stadium is kind of a showpiece of how well that country can build stadiums. We notice that in Beijing. Very cool stadium. Almost every time there is an Olympics, a new stadium is built or an older stadium is renovated to look really, really nice. Let me get to my next slide. The Olympic torch. So my understanding, first of all, I like to teach English. I am not an Olympic expert. So if I get anything wrong, please bear with me. My understanding, though, is that the Olympic torch is lit in Olympia, Greece, a few months before the Olympic Games begin. And I think it's lit using a mirror that focuses the sun on the Olympic torch. So Greece, I'll talk about Greece in a little bit, was the original country to start the ancient Olympic Games. So to honor the tradition of where the Olympics originated, we light the torch there. And then the Olympic torch goes through what's called the Olympic torch relay. So they bring the torch from Greece all the way to the host country, many times by running, but I think I have a funny feeling it must go on a boat or plane occasionally in order to cross water. But usually the Olympic torch is brought to the host country and the host city by what's called a relay. If you don't know what a relay is when one person runs with something and then hands it to the next person. So in the Olympics, there are actual relays where 4 runners all line up around the track and they have a baton that they pass to each other. The Olympic torch also participates in its own relay. And then when it gets to the host city, when it gets to the Olympic Stadium, it is used to light the Olympic cauldron. The Olympic cauldron is lit during the opening ceremonies. At least that's my understanding. And it burns for the entire duration of the Olympics. So from the beginning, from the opening ceremonies until the closing ceremonies, the cauldron is lit. And the Olympic flame is there to symbolize, I think, peace and competition between nations. So the Olympic cauldron is lit using the Olympic torch, and it burns for the entire time. Very cool. Greece. So the original Olympic Games, the ancient Olympic Games, started in the country of Greece. So we still pay tribute to Greece when we have the Olympics. We honor Greece because you guys started something really cool thousands of years ago. I don't know the exact date. But the original Olympic Games in Greece, I think, were just a few events, some running, some fighting, and some other things. But it was very cool and a very neat thing that was started by that country. So I should thank everyone who's from Greece as well. I'm not sure if Athanasios is here this morning, but thanks to your country for coming up with this really cool idea. The Olympic symbol or logo, you'll see this on the Olympic flag. You'll see this on every country's logo, probably has the, or flag on their shirt, probably has the Olympic logo below it. And basically it symbolizes peaceful unity and competition between, I think, the 5 main continents of the world. I think that this represents Europe, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas. So the idea is that the world is coming together, and that's what the Olympic symbol or logo represents. And once again, you have the opening ceremonies. This happens at the beginning of the Olympics. I think it's still happening right now. Countries walk in alphabetical order, I think, according to the local language. So when you watch it, you might think, well, why isn't Canada near the front? And I think it just depends on what the name for Canada is in the language of the host country. I could be wrong. Sometimes, don't remember, this is an English lesson, not a lesson about Olympic facts. But the opening ceremonies are where everyone comes together. All the athletes come to the stadium, to the Olympic stadium at the beginning of the Olympic Games, just to kind of walk in to show their flag and their new outfit or uniform. And it's a fun, fun time. I'm kind of missing it, but I'm going to watch the rest of it later. When you walk in, you have what are called flag bearers. Canada's flag bearers are Miranda Ayim and Nathan Hirayama. She plays on our women's basketball team, and he plays on our men's rugby team. This year, I think, is one of the first years where there are 2 flag bearers for some teams, a man and a woman. But the flag bearer will carry the flag of that country into the Olympic Stadium at the opening ceremonies. It is an honor to be chosen to be the flag bearer for your country. You are probably aware of your flag bearer or flag bearers, but they get to carry the flag into the stadium during the opening ceremonies. Very cool job to have. And then, of course, at the end of the Olympics, you have the closing ceremonies. The closing ceremonies are simply the opposite of the opening ceremonies. All of the events have pretty much been completed, and then all of the athletes get together once more for a celebration to celebrate that the Olympics are over. And there's usually fireworks, and there's usually music, and there's usually a lot of really fun things going on. By the way, what I should mention as well about the opening ceremonies is that usually the host country takes a moment to kind of showcase their culture and the beauty of their country and the beauty of their people. And so you will often see a lot of really cool things happen that represent the culture and the history of the host country. That's, to me, one of the cool parts of the opening ceremonies as well, to see, how does dance work in that country? What is a little bit of their history? And usually it's technologically amazing as well. Venues. So you will hear often when you are watching the Olympics that there's different venues. So once again, not every event can take place at the main stadium. There's just too many events. So there will be different venues. There will be the swimming venue. There will be the diving venue. That might be the same building. In the Winter Olympics, there will be the venue where they have all the skiing. So a venue is simply a place, and it's the place where a certain number of events take place. So in the main stadium, you might have all the track and field. So the venue for track and field might be the main stadium. In the Winter Olympics, the venue for hockey, for ice hockey, will be one of the local arenas. So it's simply a word for place. And then there are a number of different events. Here we see the women's volleyball teams playing in Rio in the last Olympics. So an event is any competition at the Olympics where there is a medal, okay? So the reason I say that is this. For volleyball, that's one sport and there's one event. But actually there's 2 events, isn't there? There's men's and there's women's volleyball. When you look at something like figure skating in the women's Olympics, so you have skating is the sport, but there's figure skating, there's speed skating, etc. So there's many different events in that sport. So what's another example of different events? I think that works. I think you got the point of what an event is. You have athletes, or what we also call Olympians. So one of the cool things about participating in the Olympics is you get to call yourself an Olympian. My understanding is that you don't need to win a medal to be called an Olympian. You just need to participate in one event at the Olympics, and you are an Olympic athlete. You are an Olympian. By the way, this is Kia Nurse from the Canadian women's basketball team. I think she's going to have a really good Olympic Games. I think Canada's women's basketball team is going to do quite well. And when you go to the Olympics, we use the verb to compete. You compete at the Olympic Games. You compete in sports like boxing. Oh, what sport do you compete in? Oh, I compete in rowing. That is the sport that I am going to compete in. So the Olympics is just one long stretch of time where people are competing with each other in various different events and sports. And then, of course, you want to win a medal. The medals at the Olympics are gold, silver, and bronze. Gold is for first place, silver is for second place, and bronze is for third place. There are no medals if you don't get into the top three. So you have a gold medal for first place, which is what everyone wants. Everyone dreams of winning a gold medal at the Olympics if they go as an Olympic athlete. And silver is pretty good too, and bronze is pretty awesome. But I think most people at the Olympics are trying to win a gold medal because they want to be a medalist. By the way, watching Usain Bolt run is one of my favorite things as well. It's cool to see he is fast. I think the 100-meter sprint, the 100-meter dash is a fun sport to watch. It's one of the probably primary viewing sports of the Olympics. Everyone wants to know who the fastest man in the world is. Anyways, if you win a medal, you are then a medalist. By the way, medalist sometimes has two L's, sometimes has one. There's two different spellings of medalist. Let's see here. And then if you do win, you can also be called a champion. You would be an Olympic champion. After the Olympics are over, if you were able to become a champion at the Olympics, you probably will be able to go on tour in your home country to show off your medals and maybe talk at some schools or other events. People love when the champions come home from the Olympics and when they get to see them and see their medals. When you win, you stand on the podium. Of course, the person in the center who is the highest is the person who has won gold, the person who is the best at that sport or event. And then you have people who also get the silver and the bronze. But certainly when you get to the podium, you want to be in the middle and you want to be the highest person. And I think you get your medal and you also get flowers. It's very interesting for Jen and I because we grow flowers on our farm. We love seeing the flowers at the Olympics as well. It's cool to see what types of bouquets the athletes are given along with their medals. There's something called the Athletes Village or the Olympic Village. So this is where all of the athletes live during the Olympics. It's usually close to the Olympic Stadium, but not always. And it's just a place where if you are an athlete, you live in the Olympic Village. That's where you eat, that's where you sleep, that's where you shower. And it's just kind of, I think, probably a cool place to live for a few weeks, to be surrounded by people from all different parts of the world. If there's one thing about the Olympics that I find fascinating, more fascinating sometimes than the games, it's what is it like to live in the Olympic Village? It must be a lot of fun. But anyways, the Olympic Village is simply where people stay, where the athletes live while they're at the Olympic Games. Now there's two types of sports in the Olympics. Hey, I'll flip to, two types of sports. You might participate in an individual sport or a team sport. So an individual sport would be like boxing, or let me see, what would be another good one? Swimming, any sport where you yourself are trying to win a gold medal. Whereas a team sport obviously would be something like volleyball or hockey in the Winter Olympics, or basketball, a sport where you and a bunch of other players, water polo might be another good example, where you and a bunch of other players together make a team, and as a team, you try to win a medal. So the Olympic outfit or the Olympic uniform every country tries to showcase their fashion style by having designers develop an outfit or uniform. The athletes generally wear this when they walk in during the opening ceremonies. This morning, I was especially impressed with a lot of the different outfits or uniforms that people were wearing. It was super cool to see the unique design styles of each country. And I think fashion designers around the world probably really enjoy the Olympics because they get to see all of these different styles in a very short amount of time. I think if I was a fashion designer, it would be very cool. There are what are called official Olympic sports, and there are demonstration sports or demonstration events. So for instance, pole vaulting is an official Olympic sport. Hockey is an official Olympic sport. But many, many years ago, I believe in Seoul, maybe I got this wrong, the last time, not the Winter Olympics. You're not here for Olympic facts, but at one point, badminton was a demonstration sport, and now it's an official Olympic sport. So at the Olympics, the majority of the sports are official Olympic sports, but some are just for demonstration. I'm not sure if there is a demonstration sport at the Tokyo Olympics. I think there is an exhibition or a tournament for sumo wrestling, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe someone from Japan can let us know in the chat. There is, of course, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. This is the organization that takes care of planning and helping the host country host the Olympics. They're in charge of all of the rules. They're in charge of a whole bunch of things. It is the group of people from many different countries that makes all the decisions that need to be made. They are they are in charge. Sometimes there is one person in charge of something. Sometimes it's a committee, and the IOC or International Olympic Committee is in charge. In order to be at the Olympics, sometimes you need to qualify in the sport that you play. My understanding is that the Canadian men's soccer team did not qualify for the Olympics. Maybe Brad or Jim can look that up. I think Mexico beat us out, and so Canada, I don't think we have a men's soccer team at the Olympics. I'm pretty sure we have a women's soccer team, though. They're usually really, really good. Maybe Jim or Brad can check that as well for us. But you need to qualify. In order to qualify for something, you need to prove that you're good enough. So you might need to win an earlier tournament. You might need to have jumped a certain distance or have a certain record in a sport in order to qualify. And then there is what's called eligibility. Eligibility, that would be that you conform to all the requirements to be in the Olympics. So in order to be eligible for the Olympics, you have to be 16 years of age or older. In order to be eligible, you need to be a citizen of a certain country, I think for more than 3 years. I'm not sure of the exact details. But eligibility refers to that you've done everything you need to do to be allowed to go. You can also be ineligible. This kid might be a great tennis player, but he's not old enough to go to the Olympics. He's ineligible. Okay, so when you're ineligible, you are not allowed. You are not allowed to be at the Olympics. If you're eligible, if you fulfill all the eligibility requirements, you can go. But if you are ineligible, you can't go. So kids can't go to the Olympics. And then you might be disqualified. When you are disqualified, it means that whatever you won, you no longer are going to be written down as the person who won that. So a long time ago, there was a sprinter from Canada who we were very embarrassed about because he used illegal performance-enhancing drugs. And then when they found out, he was disqualified. His name was Ben, and Canada is still ashamed of the fact that we had an athlete use performance-enhancing drugs, and that person was disqualified. It's sad when that happens. And then there are what are called records. There's two types of records. There are Olympic records and there are world records. A record is when you do the best in that sport compared to everyone else who has ever done it. So if you are a high jumper, if you break the Olympic record, it means that you have jumped the highest of any person who has ever done high jump at the Olympics. If you beat the world record, it means you have jumped higher than anyone else in the world ever has at an event. So Olympic athletes love to break the Olympic record, but they're even more excited if they break the world record, because when you break the world record, you've also broken the Olympic record. So the world record, 9.58. That's fast. I think the fastest I ever ran the 100 meter was around 11.9 seconds or 12.1 seconds. I wasn't super fast. Fast enough though. So I mentioned banned substances. There are a number of banned substances. In order to perform as an athlete, you need to keep your body clean. You can't smoke marijuana. You can't take performance-enhancing drugs. You have to train and become in the best physical shape you can without using anything that's illegal, okay? And we call those banned substances. Sometimes they will do a blood test and the results will come back and they'll find a banned substance in that person's blood, and then that person will no longer be able to participate. They will be disqualified. Sportsmanship. So when you are sportsmanlike, when there is sportsmanship, it means that you are kind to each other in spite of competition. A good example of this would be at the end of a lot of team sports, when there's no COVID, the players will shake hands or give each other a high five at the end. I think at this Olympics, I read yesterday, all of that is banned. There are no high fives. There's no congratulatory handshakes allowed because they don't want people to touch each other. But normally sportsmanship would be being happy that the other person won, even though you lost, okay? So if you get the silver medal and you congratulate the person who got the gold medal, that's good sportsmanship. That would be you being very sportsmanlike. Always a nice thing to do. And then, of course, you have coaches and trainers. Coaches are the people who help the athletes do well in their sport. There are a lot of Olympic coaches. It would be quite an honor to be an Olympic coach. It would mean that in your sport, you are really good and your country recognizes that and has asked you to be an Olympic coach. That would be cool. It would be cool to coach the Olympic hockey team or the Olympic volleyball team, or to be like any kind of coach, maybe a trainer for an Olympic boxer. All of those things would be cool. But these are the people that take care of the athletes, train the athletes, design exercise programs for the athletes, encourage the athletes. By the way, if you, let's see here, the men's soccer team did not make it into the Olympics. That's what Brad says. Thanks, Brad, for looking that up. By the way, if you want to watch a video about encouragement in English, I did do one this week. Maybe I'll put a link in the chat later. And then, of course, we have fans. Fans are the people who watch the Olympics. This year, the vast majority of the fans will be at home watching this one on TV. But as we have heard from other viewers, some of you probably have actually gone and seen an Olympic event. Probably it was an awesome experience. And again, I am an Olympic fan. I would love to go to Paris in 2024. And I'll literally watch any event. If I could see any Olympic event live, I would go to it. If I could get tickets, I would go. But fans, of course, are people who watch a sport. So we have basketball fans, and we have people who are, oh, I'm a big fan of gymnastics, or I'm a fan of pole vaulting, I'm a fan of track and field. So you are the people who like to watch that event.